Thanks for watching this replay of Award Travel 101 Live. I'm your founder, Richard Kerr, and let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I am excited about tonight. I'll tell you for a couple reasons. Number one, I love interviewing people, and I only interview people that are much smarter than me. And sometimes it's hard sitting up here talking by yourself, wondering if you're getting feedback. So every opportunity I get to interview somebody that is going to add value to this community, I get really excited. Hey, if you've been following the group, I had a huge weekend down in Mexico City. I could do an entire live about that, and I just might. So many great opportunities down there. Really blew my socks off. Had an absolutely wonderful time. A few things I do every week is introduce my bourbon of the week. This week is Blanton's Kentucky Single Batch Bourbon. If you have not tried Blanton's, number one, it's hard to get in stock. Number two, you need to go and do that. Hey, like always, my moderators are working very hard in the background. This week is Tony, and if you caught her moderator profile from a couple weeks ago, you'll know that Tony, mother of four, works very, very hard and gives a lot of information and a lot of energy to Award Travel 101. So I have the easy part sitting here talking. Tony's working hard tonight. She's going to be keeping all of your questions up at the top so that myself and my interviewee don't miss anything, and we're going to try and get to as many questions as absolutely possible. So with that, let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from. I always love seeing the reach of Award Travel 101. We typically have people from Alaska. We typically have people from Hawaii. It's a whole lot of fun to see how much we are growing. Frequent Traveler University, June 9th and 10th. That's coming up. I'm going to be speaking on Award Travel Redemption Sweet Spots. And really excited to go back to the Big Apple. It seems like I get myself there more and more. And it's always a lot of fun to get with some of the nerdiest people inside of our hobby. So with that, I'm going to go right into introducing our subject of the evening, Self-Lender CEO James Garvey. Look, one of the most common questions that I get in this group every day is, I'm just starting out. How do I build my credit? I've made some bad decisions, or life happened in the past and credit cards were the only way out. I'm starting to recover, but I need a boost because I want to get as many cards as possible to maximize the earning of my points and miles. I've not had a good answer to that yet, but I think Self-Lender does a great job meeting a huge need of a lot of you and a lot of this audience. So with that, I'm going to bring on CEO James Garvey of Self-Lender. We're going to do some super magic right here. And just like that, James, thank you so much for joining us tonight. How is everything in Austin, Texas?
It's beautiful. Thank you so much for taking time to chat with me tonight.
The pleasure is all mine. Hey, I had my first Austin experience at South by Southwest last year. I know that's nothing any of you locals do. You all get out of town, right?
That's right. Yeah, the whole city is ostensibly shut down because there's so many people out here during South by.
I visited the street that has a specific reputation and a nickname for what is it called? Like Dirty Seventh or something like that?
Dirty Sixth.
Dirty Sixth.
Yeah, so our office is located at 6th and Congress. So when you come out and visit us, it's just a couple feet down the street from where we are.
I tell you what, if Self-Lender can have as much success as you're having on Dirty Six, then I have hope in humanity and all of the entrepreneurs that are out there. James, I really want to give you the floor here just to give our entire audience a brief introduction to Self-Lender and how it's changing the landscape of allowing people to boost their credit scores.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, if you're trying to establish credit for the first time, or if you're trying to rebuild, most people will tell you to take some money and open up a secured credit card.
Sure.
And the problem with secured credit cards is that it requires that you have to have this $200, $300, $400, $500 deposit. They also hold that money typically in perpetuity, and so basically it's not a great experience, and you need the money up front. And so the idea for Self-Lender was, what if we could partner with a couple of banks and basically make you a small 12-month loan, but we put that money into a 12-month CD. So it's FDIC insured, it's in your name, and even earns a little bit of interest. But the idea is that we're making you a loan that you have to save. And, the result of that is, you're forced to save and you're building credit. And so the customer experience for Self-Lender is join Self-Lender. I choose whichever savings plan that builds credit that meets my needs. And then I make a monthly payment, build credit. After 12 months, I get whatever amount I chose from the beginning. So, concrete example, pay $15 to open up the account. Next month, $48 a month for 12 months. All in, I paid $591, and my CD matures with $545 and a little bit of interest. So basically, it's a savings plan that builds credit that's nationwide. And what we're doing is creating a CD secured installment loan that you can just access, on your phone or anywhere.
So breaking down the cash flow of that step by step, I go to Self-Lender and I say, hey, I want to have the opportunity to boost my credit score. Your bank partners will put in a cash into a 12-month or even up to a 24-month CD. I have to make installment payments back to that bank every month that CD is maturing. And when the CD matures, I have paid the bank back and I keep what was in the CD. And in the meantime, that has been reported to the credit bureaus that I have successfully on time made those payments.
Yes, absolutely.
And it costs roughly $50 out of pocket, depending on what interest rates are doing and those kinds of things.
On the most popular example, cost, a little bit less than $50. So not too bad.
So I've definitely been guilty of saying, hey, if you want to build your credit, you need to do a secure credit card, which, by the way, has no rewards, of course. And then puts temptation into people who are young, or it puts the temptation to people who have had past errors to go ahead and ruin that again in the same avenue. So that is what caught my mind or my eye with Self-Lender, is that there's no credit card involved here, which also means no hard pull, correct?
That's right. There's no hard pull. And, the idea is that, you've got 12 installments. There's a start date. There's a stop date. There's equal payments. So you know exactly what you need to spend every month.
So besides a secure credit card, are there any alternative to Self-Lender, or do you have other competitors doing this?
So basically, credit unions have been offering some variation of this product for decades. And typically the way it works is I walk into a credit union, I open up an account, I deposit $500. The credit union then makes me like a 12-month loan that's backed by that $500 deposit. But in most cases, I need that money up front. And so, the nice thing about Self-Lender is you don't have to come up with that amount up front. We just have it so it's structured in installments. Now, that being said, there are some credit unions that offer these products in the way that Self-Lender does, where you don't have to come up with those the deposit. But I offhand only can think of one, and it's in Oakland, California. So, unfortunately, they're just not that easy to access, which is one of the reasons why we created Self-Lender.
So you're available in all 50 states now. New York was your last hurdle last fall, I understand.
Yeah.
So congrats on that, which means all of my community members in Award Travel 101 should be able to qualify for Self-Lender. An important point here is you still have a responsibility to make these payments every month to Self-Lender, or else you're just going to go right back to where you were, or you're going to start your foot off if you're young or new to the U.S. with a social security number and not help yourself. So the responsibility is still incumbent upon you, just like it is on all of us with mature credit that want to earn points and miles to pay off our credit cards every month. Yep. What kind of default or success rate are you seeing out of your clients right now?
Yeah, so what we've seen typically is about a 95% repayment rate. And the nice thing about the product is somebody calls in and they say, hey, I want to close down my account. You can. That's one of the nice things about the product. So, but it's important to definitely state out loud that if you sign for Self-Lender and you don't make payments, you're going to establish credit, but it's not going to be the kind that you want.
Sure. Reminder to everybody watching, if you have any questions for James, please get it in there. Super gracious of him to take his time and get in front of our audience. I know a lot of you had questions and comments for me throughout the week as I was talking about Self-Lender. I'll be completely honest, some of the skepticism that I had is shared by you, because in our experience, if something sounds too good to be true, it typically is. But I've done my homework. I've talked to James, and we had a great pre-call on Friday. You've had some conversations with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. That was a great story that I'd love to share while people think of questions. Just put it in the comments, and Tony's going to put it in my moderator doc. We'll come back to it. But James, please share that CFPB and give people, if they're not familiar with what the CFPB is, just a quick intro to that organization.
Yeah, so the CFPB was created out of Dodd-Frank in 2010, and they basically regulate all the big banks, but they also regulate pretty much any type of financial service. And so, I had a conversation with some of the people in the CFPB very early on, and they said, listen, James, it's a great idea, but it's not going to work because it's too cheap.
Yep.
You're not charging enough. And, that is something that I've been able to talk to them again about, and they are definitely excited about that we've got this many people using the product and been able to prove them wrong.
Great question from Sherry. So is there any advantage to doing the 12-month over the 24-month term CD?
Yes. So from what we understand with FICO, we know it's a black box, but we do know that there are certain things that make up your credit score. So, for example, payment history is the most important component of your credit score. I think it's like 35% of your credit score is payment history.
Sure.
So, the reason why you would want to choose a 24-month versus a 12-month account really just comes down to, I want to establish more payment history. I could be on a longer rebuilding journey. So, say, for example, you've got a 550 credit score, and, you've got 4 or 5 years, 6 years, maybe 7 years ahead of you before you're able to get that score that you want. Well, sign up for something that gives you the ability to make consistent payments on time for as long as possible. Because, what we're doing at Self-Lender isn't magic. It's just, listen, if you make consistent on-time payments, eventually, the credit bureaus will reward you with that, with good behavior,
That's a perfect summary. So if you're just joining us as people tune in to Award Travel 101 Live, I have Self-Lender CEO James Garvey. In my mind, a revolutionary way to build your credit without a hard pull, reporting to all three bureaus, right, James?
Yep.
And a great statement. It's incumbent upon you to sign up for Self-Lender and make the payments, but you don't have to front any money up front. Sure.
Other than the one-time fee to open up the account, only if you get the account. So $15 at most.
Right. So we're talking $15, not a $2,000 origination fee of a student loan or, all that goodness that you have right there. So $15 to get it going. Have you had any conversations with any of those three bureaus or the Magic FICO cloud in the sky, and any feedback either way from those guys and gals?
Yeah. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, this shows up as a secured installment loan. So, that's how it shows up on your credit report. And the bureaus, they have to approve the data before it goes into your report. So, the conversations have been, you're not doing anything different than what credit unions have been doing for decades,
Sure.
From the perspective of, go in the credit union, make a deposit, and so forth. So, conversations have been nothing crazy, because we've taken a product that's been around forever and just made it really easy and simple to use.
A couple questions for you. One, Stephen asks, who owns Self-Lender, or are you a standalone company?
So Self-Lender is a venture-backed startup. We've raised about $7 million in equity financing to date. Some of our shareholders are Silverton Partners. They're an Austin-based VC. Axion. Axion is a microfinance organization that's been around for 50 plus years. Kickstart Seed Fund. They're out in Utah. Techstars. Also, Techstars is a tech accelerator, and Galvanize Ventures also has an accelerator component. So, we've raised some money inside of Silicon Valley and some money outside of Silicon Valley.
So when you go to launch your IPO in the next 6 months, I want to be one of the first people that have a shot at this this opportunity. I do want to mention Self-Lender and James have been great to partner with us. I think that there's so many people in the Award Travel 101 community that can benefit from this. I answer 15 and 16-year-old questions all the time who go out and fly first class using their parents' instruments who are so interested in doing this. Number one, is there a minimum age to sign up for a Self-Lender account?
18.
18?
Yep.
And then besides that, in your opinion, who do you think are the one or two type of people in Award Travel 101 that would benefit most from a Self-Lender account?
Yeah, so what I would say is if you're establishing credit for the first time, or if you're reestablishing because you haven't had credit in a long time, if we know people that you paid off your house and 7 years later, everything rolls off your credit report, so you're now thin file. So we'd say that if you're new to credit, or if you're rebuilding, so you're trying to get it back on track, and that you want a premium credit card at some point. But, the right way to do it is, let's show the credit bureaus that you're doing the right thing and then apply for the card when you think you can be eligible.
Excellent information. I am so glad to finally have an answer to this question, which again is one of the most common that I get in my inbox, in my email, on Twitter. I'm just starting. I'm really excited about this. How do I build my credit? So if you want to sign up for a Self-Lender account, we have partnered with Self-Lender to get the word out about this, because I wholeheartedly believe in this. If you've been a long-time Award Travel 101 member, I'm very selective about the brands that I partner with. We are still in the single digits, even though I get pitched every day, because I want to make sure it adds value to all of us. We have a referral link, https://award.travel/selflender. I know Tony is going to share it in the comments a few times. I would greatly appreciate if you use that link to sign up for a Self-Lender account. It ends up supporting us. It supports James and his entire team over there. And it's really going to get the job done. If, as James said, it's incumbent upon you to make sure that you take care of that account and make the payments on a regular basis. So I'm going to ask you a couple hardball questions here, James, as we wrap up the interview. Number one is, what credit card do you use every day for your business and personal spend, so that I can tell you that you're doing it wrong?
So I use an Amex Platinum card, and I do not have a business credit card yet. Our business is still a little too new to get one, but hoping that that's going to change later this year.
Amex Platinum is a great one. Hopefully you're traveling a lot and putting all the airfare on there to get 5X points.
Exactly.
Yep. I used that this morning to get in the Mexico City Centurion Lounge, which I highly recommend as a great lounge experience. Now, back to Self-Lender. And if anybody else has any questions for myself or for James, again, a big thanks to James and the team at Self-Lender who've been wonderful setting this up. We have some longtime friends that go way back on James' team that brought this together. So, Jeremy, thanks a lot for the effort that you've done in the background. What are some of the things that your customers say, hey, I don't like this, I wish you guys did this better? Or I guess the main complaint that you guys are working on with your customers?
Yeah, so I will say that we've been slow to launch our mobile app. That's changing. So we're launching our app, right in March. So it's just right around the corner, and we can't wait for that to be up. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, some people, it can take 60 to 90 days sometimes for it to actually show up on your credit report. But the point is, the payments are still going to hit your credit report. It's going to hit retroactively. So even if it takes 60 days or 90 days to show up for the first time, don't worry about it. It's still fine. And those are really the two big complaints that people have.
We all want it right now, don't we? We
Absolutely.
That's the way it goes. I'm going to wrap up with James here. If anybody has any more questions, some people are giving you some suggestions on how to get that business credit card right now. We don't want you to wait, and we want to get those points. It is true. Eric says, hey, Amex is not picky if you got that employer identification number, and you just, like I always tell people, tell the truth, report the actual revenues, the actual business you're doing, so that if they audit you, you have, hey, you guys gave me the line of credit. No problem there. I really don't think you have a problem. The business platinum card and everything that goes with it to complement your earnings on the platinum would be a fantastic suggestion for everybody over there at Self-Lender. And I'm sure Jeremy in the background, one of the hard workers at Self-Lender, can give you more information about that than you'd ever want to know. Hey, Ben asked, yep, there's minimum age of 18. James told us to sign up with Self-Lender, probably pretty standard across the financial industry. With that, James, I really appreciate you bringing this product to our attention. This interview is going to be available for rewatching anytime over on our YouTube channel. Tony, if you'll please put the link up to YouTube in those comments. Any parting words of wisdom for Award Travel 101, James?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity. And, if you're looking to build credit and save money, click on that link and let's get started.
I wholeheartedly agree. Personal finance will always be a passion of mine. There's a right way to do this hobby, and that's protecting your score, but you got to get it to where it needs protecting first. James, thank you so much, everybody in Award Travel 101. Hey, we got a lot of things coming up in the week. Remember, Bourbon and Q&A. Ask me anything on Thursday. Next Tuesday, I'm going to be back with some Mexico City trip reports, and I'm going to continue looking for wonderful products like Self-Lender that add value to this community that I wholeheartedly believe in. James, thank you so much, and I look forward to chatting a lot more in the future.
Appreciate it. Have a good one.